A minimum wage hike looks to be on the way for our lowest paid workers, but at what cost to inflation and to jobs, to businesses? Workplace Minister Michael Wood is with us this morning, along with National MP Erica Stanford, for our regular Friday panel. Good morning.
Morning, Ryan.
Morning, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Good to have you both back for another suck of the sav. Can we start with the minimum wage? Obviously, you're Workplace Relations Minister, so you've had advice on it already. Will the increase that you put forward to Cabinet, will that increase inflation?
We go through a process every year. I receive advice as the Minister, take a recommendation to Cabinet, we work that through, and we'll do that over the next few weeks. What the evidence and all of the analysis has showed us in the last few years, it has a very small impact on inflation.
How small?
So, for example, last year when we increased the minimum wage from $20 to $21.20, the overall estimated impact was 0.1%. This is a really important point about the minimum wage. We often get scaremongering about inflation, that it'll put unemployment up, and it has been shown really to do none of those things in any significant way.
To be fair to the opposition, their opposition to it has not been that it would increase unemployment, but that it would lead to a reduction in jobs created. So that's a different thing, isn't it? So how many jobs won't be created because of the increase?
Well, the evidence there is actually very, very limited. We've had good increases to the minimum wage every year that we've been in government because we do believe in supporting those who are working hard on the lowest incomes, and we've achieved record low unemployment, only 3.3% at the moment. So the evidence that somehow we restrict employment growth in a big way by putting up the minimum wage is just not there based on the evidence of the past 5 years. Our position's clear. We do support the lowest income earners.
Yep.
Nicola
So
Willis yesterday effectively said we wanted to cut the minimum wage in real terms for low-income workers.
Erica, what is the position of the National Party on increasing the minimum wage? If you were in power right now, would you do it, as Michael will?
Look, the first thing to acknowledge is that inflation is causing a huge amount of difficulty for families on fixed incomes and low-income families. You have to acknowledge that, and which is why we've been talking for so long about the importance of keeping a lid on inflation, and the government have either been unable or unwilling to do what they can to try and address that problem. What I will say is that what Nicola Willis was trying to say yesterday is that there will be from this minister and this government the want to try and massively increase the minimum wage to try and offset that problem. Of course, what you do then potentially get into is this wage price spiral that we've seen. We have had now for 3 quarters our inflation rate sitting over 7%. Now, what we're trying to avoid is that wage price spiral, that hamster on the wheel of death. So it's going to be really important. So
but he's saying that it was, even when it was a $1.20 increase, which was far and above anything that governments had done in the previous 10 years, it was only 0.1%.
We're in a different situation now, and Michael, as he's right, he's saying he will be getting a whole lot of information. He'll be getting the employment potential changes, he will be getting the inflation potential changes of all of the different rates that he might change it by. So he will take those into account. What we're saying is that a modest increase is the best way to go at the moment so that we don't put more pain and pressure on the inflation.
But that's what you're saying too, to be fair, isn't it? I mean, you're going to go with between 40 and 60 cents or something.
Well, you always try and make a balanced decision on these things. You do look at all of the evidence that's on the table.
That's about right, though, isn't it?
Well, I'm not going to predetermine what it is. We have to go through the cabinet process. We are very clear, though, this is hardwired into our DNA as a Labor government, particularly in difficult times.
Yeah, but
you do need to support those who have the least and have been working really hard through these periods.
Totally. But what does modest mean?
Well, as I say, we'll have to work that through. I think that's the National Party's words, not our words.
Okay.
We're going to look at the evidence and make a call.
What's your word?
Well, we try and make a balanced decision with this. We want to support low-wage workers.
Okay.
We need to be aware of the broader impact. But we'll do it in a measured way. I just need to be clear on this. Nicola Willis, the National Party finance spokesperson yesterday, basically came out and said there shouldn't be an increase.
No, that's not true at all, and you're mischief-making.
Had to walk that back within an hour.
She didn't walk it back.
She didn't say
she didn't. She got pulled in by the leader's office.
She didn't say
that was her statement. It wasn't pulled in by the leader's statement.
All right. Let's very quickly just clarify. Your new leader, Chris Hipkins, has come in and said his #1 priority, his biggest priority, is tackling inflation. One of the first things you will do is increase it.
Oh, well, look, I don't agree with that.
But you just said you would. Even if it's 0.1, 0.2%. Can you see what I mean? Putting up the minimum wage is going to lead to an increase in inflation.
Look, I simply don't accept that. Ensuring that the lowest paid people in New Zealand have enough to get by.
I know the justification for it.
That you throw those people on the fire heap.
No, I know that.
Tackling this challenge.
I get your justification for it, but you must accept just at a base level that you've said this is your number one priority is to fight inflation. The first thing you will do as a government, likely, will be to increase inflation.
Well, what we've said is that our number one priority is supporting people with what is a real cost of living challenge that many, many people are facing. What you need to do is do that on two fronts. You need to make sure that you've got the policy settings right to bring down inflation, but you've also got to make sure that you actually support people on the income side through that, because that's the real world challenge that people do face at the moment, particularly on low incomes.
Right.
It is tough, and you do need to make sure people have got decent wages. That's something else.
Agree. We all can all agree with that. Erica, do you think when it comes to immigration, obviously the government is now going around, shaking every businessman and woman's hand you can find in New Zealand. What are they telling the government about the immigration settings that need to be changed? What do you think we can still tinker with?
Well, there's a lot of things that we can do. I mean, the government have made a number of changes, and this minister has made a number of changes that are putting migrants off. Just by taking away from April, it was going to be December, but taking away the automatic work right of your partner if you're coming in as a skilled worker, that is going to have a huge effect. In fact, I think I said on Twitter that it was the number one stupidest decision that this government has made, because it is going to mean that people just won't come here, they'll go somewhere else. There's a range of other things that the government have done, including signalling that later this year there's going to be a change to the way that we grant residence, and it's going to be a lot more difficult. You either have to have a degree, or you have to earn a lot of money, or you have to be in a registered occupation, which takes away the ability for all of those amazing tradespeople to come to New Zealand, that we desperately need, by the way, and get residence. So they won't come. So there's a lot of things, but the biggest thing at the moment is processing times. We are still in a position where every single category of visa is well behind where it was in 2017 in terms of processing. That has to change. And all the costs they've added to business.
Is Immigration New Zealand got a labour shortage of its own?
Well, Erica's right to a certain extent that there has been work that has been needed to be done on the processing times. We effectively opened up the system as of about July. We had huge volumes that came in that were well above what anyone expected, and certainly over large parts...
Really?
The border was closed for 2 years. Oh, we didn't think they'd come back.
Over large parts of the second half of last year, the processing times weren't where we needed them to be. We've put several hundred more staff into Immigration New Zealand.
So what are they now, the processing?
We've stripped out, well, it depends on the visa category, it depends on the particular measurement.
What's the range?
By the end of last year, we were beginning to see sustained improvements across most of the processing
By what, 10, 20%? What kind of improvements?
Oh, look, I couldn't give you the exact figures on that this morning.
Shouldn't you know that? Isn't that crucial?
But sustained, well, it depends on the visa category, it depends on the way that you're looking at it. But we expect to see those improvements continue through the first part of this year. That's a real commitment. So we recognise there's been an issue there.
Obviously.
We've put resources in, and we've also streamlined a lot of the internal processes.
Okay, what about
to get those moving more quickly?
Automatic work rights for partners that Erica's talking about?
Well,
you open to changing that?
Well, that was one of the issues. We actually signalled before Christmas that we were doing a review of that. So that was something we signalled.
So when
review of the reset.
We heard. But this is what we've been doing with the immigration process. There are core changes that we do think we need to make. We don't think that the previous settings were right, where we had very large volumes of people on low wages coming in. But what we have been doing in the last few months of last year, whether it's working holiday visa, whether it's skilled migrant category,
making changes.
We have been making changes in response.
Can we just give people, then, businesses watching this morning, an indication of when that particular issue might be changed or resolved?
We've said that we'll provide confirmation of the way forward there in February of this year. So next month.
And the residence changes that Erica's talking about there coming, will you consider making changes to that?
Well, I do need to respond to what Erica said there. What we have as of today are residency settings in New Zealand that are actually more generous than we've ever had, even pre-COVID, and certainly under the previous national government. In 2022, we processed 4 times as many residency visas as we do in a normal year.
Good National Party policy.
So that was Residence Visa 2021, which was
National
a Labour Party policy.
All right.
And before Christmas, we've opened up the green list to a large range of occupations.
We're down a rabbit hole now. Can we just come back to that question? Yeah. The recommendation that Erica made around the changes that will be made later this year, are they on the cards for you?
I think Erica was talking there about the skilled migrant category.
Yeah.
Now, we reopened that up as of October. That was something that the sector had been asking for.
Yeah.
The sector had also been asking that we move towards a simplified system. So we've opened that up for consultation on how we can do that. That consultation closed over summer, and we're making decisions on that in the next month or two.
Potentially change. So a lot of potential changes in immigration.